disconnect your camera. Well, that needs more steeping. Today is going to be fun because we are going to be looking at the markets from a different perspective today. In the past, I've been focusing on cryptos, gold, silver, the stock market, American economy, Japanese economy. And one of the things that's come up recently that we've been chatting about is gold versus Bitcoin, how that's been trending downwards lately. And even looking at gold and Bitcoin from a different perspective, like let's just move this a little bit like so you can see more. Here we go. Look at that, beautiful. Back in this period of time, April of 2021, excuse me, Bitcoin reached 69,000. But that translated into 36 ounces of silver. It did it again, 36,000 in October. Or 36 ounces, almost 37. No, not 37. 37 ounces of silver. Then it went down all the way down to 10 ounces of silver, 9 ounces of silver. Sorry, not silver, gold. We're talking about gold. Then it went back up again. Now it's cost more gold, but look at how much more expensive the Bitcoin was. Bitcoin was 108,000. That's considerably larger than the 70,000 it was before. But then it was still pretty much the same amount of gold, ranged a little bit higher. But that even in August of 2025, it got up to 36, almost 37 ounces of gold to get one Bitcoin. Today, that's down almost by 50%. So Bitcoin didn't go down 50%. In fact, if we look at the Bitcoin price, Bitcoin only went down 36% in that drop. That simply means that gold is gaining so much momentum. And already today, new highs. Bring that up. What's our target? Well, as we look at this right now, the target is 51, just under $5,200. That's our next US. That's our next target. So we'll see how we go, how it goes from here. But currently, there's nothing stopping the price of gold. There's no indicated resistance. But that I would say that we'll see a target around that 5,200 mark. Now, the next thing, silver also creating all-time highs again today. I'm going to go to the 2-hour chart so we can see how things played out there. This was Sunday when markets opened, jumped up, and didn't stop. Came back down and tested the old-time high, but then continued onwards. Only tested it for an hour. I know. It tested it for a few hours. Right here. From midnight till about 4 a.m. And then it took off. So this is silver. We're going to see that go up, no question. And I don't think it'll come down anytime soon. There's there's incredible amounts of fear being injected into the markets. Oh, we're going to see a correction. Silver is going to go down. Yes, silver will do a correction, but not for a while. Gold, yeah, we already covered that one. Oh, the chart that I want to bring awareness to. Oh, yeah, so let's just talk about Bitcoin and gold here for a second again. Bitcoin went up as time has gone on, and Bitcoin has been dropping against gold quite a bit lately. This drop, 50%, basically 50% drop in the price of gold is significant because gold is the kind of the old standard. Very, very. It's been a storehouse of value for millennia. The digital world has its own storehouse of value. Right now, it's considered to be Bitcoin. And so seeing the two comparatively is going to be this is going to be an exercise for us to see just the true value of things. To give you another example of how this is played in effect, I've prepared this chart here with some numbers. We are currently at all-time highs in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This is the top 30 top 30 stocks and an index of them so that we can see the growth of the economy. But what I want to draw your attention to is there I've labeled these different highs and low parts of the market with how many ounces of gold it took to buy at that time. And I want to bring your attention specifically to the crash here. There it was 18.767. This was markets were at an all-time high. People were so excited, things were going well, and then COVID hit. That dropped. We had to blame the market collapse on COVID. When it dropped, it was 12.53 ounces. 12.53 ounces for the index as an index. Went up, obviously went up a little bit because, look at that beautiful growth that they had during that time. Gold didn't grow as much as the economy did. So it was 19.94. But then here it dropped during the Biden era. Went down to 17.23 ounces. But then as it grew up again, you can see it's dropped considerably. In fact, that when when the markets were at these highs in December of 2024, it was already more than 2 ounces cheaper than it was before. 2 ounces, that's a lot of money, especially when you consider it was only 18 ounces beforehand. You're losing 2 ounces? It means that the market's actually went down more than 10%. Think about that. Then you take a look at these prices here. Of course, now I'm talking with my mouth full. In January of 2022, the stock market was worth 19.94, basically 20 ounces of gold. Went down, went up, but after that high of December, and we had that little mini crash over the spring going into April of 2025, that market crash brought us back to those old levels from 2022, the old highs. And when it did, it was only 12 ounces. So from 19 ounces at that price to 12 ounces 5 years later, 4 years later, was it? 3 years later. There's January 2022. There's April 2025. So just a little bit more than 3 years later, it was yet again now more than 6 ounces of gold cheaper. 6 ounces. That's more than 30%. Now, what's even crazier is that since that drop, the markets have gone up considerably. In fact, they're at new highs all over again, 35%. Woohoo! But yet it's still cheaper in gold. What does that mean? Well, I've been chatting about this for quite some time. In fact, I think when I first started talking about this, it was 2018. This chart, the Dow Jones Average Industrial Index or the S&P 500, they are not measuring the value of the market. They're measuring the denomination of the market in accordance to a fiat currency. So what we're seeing is more so a reflection of how much inflation has affected the market than the strength of the market. Because when you really look at it, when you take into consideration going back farther, look at this. This is gold back in 2015. It was 14 ounces. You know, before that down here, I don't even know what it was. I could do some more hunting. But can you see the point? Look at when that crashed, it was 12 ounces, 12.5. And at this price way up here, it's less gold. This tells me that the markets are incredibly weak and they're getting weaker and weaker all the time. Oh, look at how good the stock market is. Yeah, I guess in the US dollar it looks good, but the US dollar is just not able to buy as much as it used to be able to, so markets are actually going down. This is only going to continue. In fact, I think that we're going to see energy contracts between countries be renegotiated with precious metals and or other assets. Silver, gold at all-time highs. US market at all-time lows. You know, I don't know what it was in the 80s. I have to do some more analysis. But this trend is going to continue. It will be less and less gold, which means the markets are getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Bitcoin dominance, is that what this? No, this is market cap. Here's Bitcoin dominance. It's been consolidating here ever since, well, technically all the way back over here. But I'm going to just look at this last few months here. Since November, we've been consolidating within this very tight range underneath 60%. If the Bitcoin dominance does rise above that 60%, we'll probably see it go up a little bit higher. You can see that it came up here, tested this long-term trend line, and has been consolidating since, but it had a difficult time getting back up to that 60% level. So the fact that it didn't quite make it to 60% indicates that we are going to continue going down. As Bitcoin dominance goes down, what does that mean? Altcoins are going to go up. Case in point, here is the Ethereum against Bitcoin. How many Bitcoin does it take to buy one Ethereum? Right now, it is 3.3% of one Bitcoin to buy Ethereum. We'll see how that plays out as time goes on. I want to draw your attention next to Yeah, well, let's go through altcoins. Ethereum, consolidating still. I drew this pennant here. You can see the two trend lines, they're intersecting over here. This intersection occurs in February next month, February 3rd to be exact. So we'll probably see consolidation here for a little while. If it dips below, it probably will come down to retest the 2800 line. If it goes up, it'll probably retest. If it goes up, I tend to think it's going to go up. 3,500 is going to be the next point of resistance. Midnight, shaping up well. Going to go to the 2-hour chart so that we can see it a little bit more. This is a brand new coin that we've been following, specifically in the realm of private contracting. This coin is going to be long term. It is the kind of the evolution from ADA, which is the coin that helped bring a layer of privacy to our commerce, to the way that we are able to transact, move money around anonymously. It's a wonderful system. And Midnight is another layer of privacy over top of the contracts that occur. We can talk about that. I talk more about that in Next Gen Merchants. Japanese markets also pressing upwards against all-time highs, I think. Yep. In fact, it was last week. On Friday, they blasted forth from that all-time high. Not much else to report right now. A lot of these coins are really in kind of a limbo mode where we're gotta wait to see what's going to happen before we really know what's happening. I mean, this here, we're pressing upwards against this short-term trend line. If we're able to jump up above this pivot point here, $316, if we're able to actually, well, even if we get a solid jump over top of that $300 mark, 290, get a good jump on that and then use that support, probably challenge 373 here by the next couple months. I'm not buying this one though. This one here is like big globalist company. I bring this chart up because it gives me a barometer check on the market. Fetch, similarly, I like to use this one as a barometer on private LLMs or language learning models. This is an ecosystem of developers. Polygon, this one's more engaged with gaming. We can see that rise that we had found some resistance around that 18-cent mark. Probably find some support. I'm going to guess down here around 13 cents before it jumps back up again. Although even at now, even where the price is right now, this is a fairly significant point. This might be providing the support we need. Destra Network, great network for specifically for data storage and distribution. Having more self-governance over who can see your data. Powerful system these guys are building. Boy, you got to really zoom in to see the movements. In the big scheme of things, it's pretty small movements we're seeing on PAL here. World, same idea. Very, very low movement. Volumes are dropped quite a bit. Neural AI, waiting for this one to catch some tide winds or some high winds and sail the high tides. This one has great potential coming back up to $17, currently at $1.18. Beam down today. Nice lows. Yeah, this is exactly when you want to buy. I bought back in here. My price, the price that I bought at was, 1.9 cents. Now it's below. That's only tenths of 1 cent. So this one in my portfolio is drawn down quite a bit, but this is a great time to buy. Superverse also very low. Great time to buy. Just the growth alone, just taking the growth just to recover to the all-time highs, that's a 10x. Clearpool also. This one here is a real world asset. It will likely be later on in the cycle. And the leading coins for this cycle, I think, are going to be the meme coins. Non-playable coin currently at 1.2 cents. We've got the SPX 6900, most fanatical meme coin out there right now, with 58 cents. I think that pretty much does it. Total market cap on crypto is just under. This is total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we consider Bitcoin and Ethereum to kind of be the gold and silver, but that everything else where money is in crypto, those are in the actual projects. Those are actual companies. Those are actual deliverables. So we take out the market capitalization on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we get an idea of the health of the market. Right now, sitting just under $1 trillion market capitalization on the investments. These are things that people are actually building, solutions, communities, treasuries, and so on. That's all I really got today. There's lots to cover. I mean, if with more preparation, I could have had some more stuff to do on silver, but I'm currently really focusing on helping business owners get their content on their own private networks so that they can distribute it, using the internet. We can still use the internet. That's not a problem. The privacy is, sometimes you don't want the privacy. You want people to come and see your online brochure. So my focus this last couple of weeks has been building what I call the printing press, where businesses are going to be able to share their data with more granular control behind contracts. So with contracts, we can now start to do things like self-identify ourselves. Wouldn't that be amazing? Instead of having to be identified as someone else's property, we could actually identify ourselves as beings. And I think what I'll do is, later today, tomorrow, I'll be preparing a more comprehensive analysis on silver. Like this here is insane. This price action is absolutely insane. This line right here, this was the high of 1980. And what's crazy is that you go back in time. Let's go to the weekly chart so we can see this zoomed out a little bit more. Like this 1980 high, we saw that get challenged in April of 2011. But it just went right back down into the teens, you know. I remember in this area here, 2013, 14, I was getting silver for like $17 Canadian per ounce. Now it's over 100. What is it today? 118. This hockey stick is is begging for a correction. But there you have it. It's just wild. Wild that we're experiencing this way. I thought that I had my. Oh yeah, there we go. There's the 1980 high on silver. Yeah. This is the monthly chart, so you can see even with more of an outline of the price action. Look at how it basically the price just barely moved for decades, and then all of a sudden in the 80s things went up and came right back down again. This area here, we call that the recession. And then it comes up and it manages to recover everything that it lost in May of 2011. But then again, manipulation took over, pressing the price back down again, finding lows around $12. And since this time here, this was April of 2020, April of 2020. This was as COVID recovery, we call that COVID recovery, now up 633% 5 years later, 6 years later now. Any questions, comments? Those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment, like and subscribe and all that sort of thing so you can catch the notifications for when we go live. But yeah, I'll do a little bit more analysis on silver and gold. And maybe tomorrow or Thursday, I'll do a longer presentation on that. But if that's it, then there we have it. Market analysis for today, Monday, January 12th. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.